Okay, so excited to spend some time here with Gail. Gail, we've known each other 15 years.
Yep.
And, you know, Gail Nixon, one of my favorite people to work with. And we could probably share countless stories of all the fun we've had through the 15 years of working together. I remember our conversation going back 15 years ago, but maybe share for the group your experience of coming over to the insurance industry.
Oh, sure. So I actually began with another carrier only 2 months prior to meeting you. And what drew me to going over to the other side, or actually sitting with you, there was just this whole other thing where, you know, all the other carriers, you didn't have the opportunities with leads and lead generation and providing that type of support. And plus you promised there was going to be a lot of training. And I thought that was really good. You told me about the whole flexibility thing, and there was just something so genuine about the way you are and the way the company was. And it drew me to it. And at that time, I had been in sales for a number of years, but it was a bad market. The housing market crashed. It was not a good time. And I said, you know what? I'm in sales. Why not embark on an opportunity where I'm still helping people, I'm still involved, and I'm still able to, you know, show some value.
No, and I remember that time, like I said, when we were talking about it. So, you know, obviously in the captive space, some of the things that are really good are structure. Like you said, you know, you're kind of nervous because you don't know much. Like you said, you just came over, you're getting started in the business, and that, you know, environment where you can learn, you know, there's a lot of training available for you. There's a number of people in an office setting that you can kind of do that, which really helps, you know. What do you think are some of the biggest differences now for you being on the independent side?
I have to say, you know, the captive side, the pros and the cons. Okay, so on the captive side, the pros were definitely the training, definitely having that support structure, and that was nice. But the cons were, it is supporting the whole independent side. You are captive. You are in a space where you really don't have that flexibility to offer other products. Whereas on the independent side now, I've got so many carriers to work with, and it's a nice offering for my clients. I feel that they're getting a better value and better service, and it gives me a little bit more leverage to do certain things that I wasn't able to do on the captive side, especially when it comes down to working with other carriers.
Well, I think one of the big things is, you know, you know, before you were helping people, you definitely genuinely had the intention of going out and helping people.
Right.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, what you were doing, you were fitting a person to a product, because the product offering was so narrow. You know, when you look at coming out to the independent space now, you're able to customize products to the individual person, whether it's an annuity, whether it's life insurance, or whether it's some of the, you know, Medicare products that are out there today. You're able to kind of not like kind of put the square peg in a round hole in certain cases. You're always able to act on the best interest of the client that you're sitting there talking to.
Correct.
And I think from a captive standpoint, that is really an important part of what we look to do. And it was tough before, you know, going out and meeting people, and if someone was rejected for a plan, you really didn't have any options. And now when you go out, even before you present the plan, there's tools and software available where it does the underwriting for you and it directs you to the proper carrier, and you know in minutes whether or not they're eligible or not. So the ease of use is just really simple, which I think is great. Why do you think you're having so much success over here versus when you were in the captive? I know you had success in the captive space, but why do you think you're having so much more success now?
I want to say referrals. You know, I've been in the business long enough to have a book of business. I mean, unfortunately, under the captive side, you have to wait a little period of time before you can even talk to your former clients, which is the rule, and that's okay. However, my clients came back to me. They said, where are you, and are you still doing this? Because I have my kids. Remember my kids, they grew up, they need something, they just bought a house. Referrals, and I've actually built some great relationships through the years where people don't forget you. They just don't, and you show value, and they keep coming back.
It's kind of like you were banished
Yeah.
you're banished for 2 years,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
And you can't talk to anybody. And then all of a sudden you're able to do that again.
Yeah,
And, obviously you understand the guidelines of contracts and
Of
stuff you
course,
do, and
yeah.
that all makes sense. But I think most people don't think about that, probably like you and me going in. But when you look at being entrepreneurial and actually running your own business and doing all those other things, they're your clients.
That's right.
You take them wherever you go,
That's
whichever
right.
companies you decide to throw your business through, uplines and stuff of that nature. So from a captive standpoint, it really makes a difference. I can tell you
Yeah.
a big difference that I see for you in the independent space is the ability to network better in work in some of the groups and areas that you focus in on
Yes.
without having to worry about some of those restrictions.
Yeah,
Where, for example, doing stuff in the community and doing stuff online if you want to do social media or you wanted to do Facebook posts or things of
Correct.
that nature, you have free range within reason,
Oh, of
to
course.
do that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
If you can give me 3 things that you think you don't find in the captive space that you cherish in the independent space, what would you say they are?
One, the variety of carriers, and I said that to you before, Joe. The second piece would be more field support with the carriers. So the carriers, they actually do talk to you on the phone, whereas if it was at the former captive space that we were in before, we had to go to the upline and find out, okay, our managers, they have to do the footwork and all of that, and it was a lot of this disconnect. And I think the next thing is definitely the platform, the software. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it's user-friendly, and again, it doesn't just talk about one product, it streamlines several, which is fantastic, I can go on and on actually, because there are just so many great things in the independent space.
Well, a funny story that connects to what you said. So, I had connections in the prior life because I was pretty far up and
Right.
could talk to underwriters directly, and they were great, But most people didn't have access to that.
That's right.
And, I shared this story on a couple podcasts that I was involved in, but it was really funny. It was probably a year into being independent, and I wrote a lady in Stanford, and she was rated, with the company that I wrote her with. And I get in the car, so I walk down you go in the elevator, go down the stairs, get in my car. I turn my car on, and literally the underwriter's on the phone and says, I have a quick question for you. And I don't remember whether it was an A1C level or what the question was, but I answered the question. She goes, you know what, we're going to write them standard.
Beautiful.
And so the attentiveness of some of these carriers
Oh, yeah.
to want to help you is unbelievable. And then I think the other areas that you kind of spoke on, you and I have talked about this a number of times, right,
sure.
too, is the whole having an S corporation and the tax benefits that you
That's
get
right.
for being independent. And we're young, you and I.
Yes, we are.
We're young.
We're not going anywhere.
We're not talking about retiring ever, but
No.
having a saleable asset
Yes.
of a business versus having, a renewal that fades very, very quickly,
Yes,
which
it
most
does.
people don't understand that in the captive space. They think you got to get to 10 years and that's this magical thing, and
No.
it's not. So I think that's a big part of it. And then also for you, like I said, seeing the things that have changed for you is that you're raising your daughter,
That's
single parent in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. It gives you the flexibility because you're getting higher renewals.
Right.
You're getting those now monthly,
Yes.
which is paying your bills and helping you be able to invest in your business, and you're getting paid double what you were getting paid prior. So
Right.
it relieves some of that pressure off of you
For sure.
to really work with the clients you want to work with. And
That's
I
right.
think that's such a big, big thing. The last question that I wanted to ask you about partnering with Forecore. Why partner with us? Why did you want to partner with Forecore?
I have to say, one thing about it is that, I know from the space, from where we came from, okay? And I know your work ethic, and it's integrity. You've got great integrity. You are a man, woman, me, of our word, and you're going to follow through.
Appreciate that.
And that is from the heart,
Thank you.
because you've always been consistently like that, you don't default.
No, and I definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
You are
And
very welcome.
I think for most people, there's excitement to do something new. There's also a lot of fear. you know, and I think why a lot of people gravitated once many of us had left the captive space is that the people that left were people that had integrity, that had character, that had that drive and work ethic, and knew where you were coming from and what you were going through. So it took you a little while to make the switch, as it did for me. People left before I left, you know, and you know that was kind of an impetus for me to want to leave. Was I didn't want to go through that rigmarole again and again and again with people leaving, but it was comfortable knowing that they were sitting in the same seats we were sitting in. They're people you trust, and you're able to do that. I have one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. Okay. So what would you tell a captive agent if they were to sit down with us today? What would you tell them?
Oh, wow. I would just say, think about legacy. Think about your renewals, residuals, something of which you can carry with you. In fact, you can even, as we just talked about, are we retiring anytime soon? Not yet. But think about your book of business. As you build...
Well, I'm younger than you, right?
Only by a skosh. Oh. However, think about your book of business. You can actually sell your book of business down the road. And, you know, under the captive space, that doesn't happen. Your stuff is now feast, famine, goes away. Right. At least this way...
Well, feast, famine, they were feast, famine on your clients, right?
Yeah, they were trying to. I think they killed me off a couple times. But anyway, yeah, I just say, you know, think about the legacy, the future. I see the young guys who've come in. I mean, we're still young. But, you know, those 20-year-olds who are doing so great and having such great business.
20-year-olds with six-figure renewals in less than 3 years.
Can you imagine? They just fell out of college. So, you know. But, yeah, you know. So that's what I would say. I would let them know that this is great planning.
Well, this is fun.
This is fun.
I'm glad you came out for this. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Gail.
You're welcome, Joe.